Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Happy Boxing Day. Merry Christmas. Today is also the first day of Kwanzaa and the 5th day of Hanukkah, I think, to all of our listeners. So hopefully everyone's having happy holidays. It's cold in Massachusetts, Ray. I'm guessing it's colder there, but with the missus and the dog there, I bet it's super toasty warm in the house.
You know what? It's been, we have just experienced everything that I have said in the past about Calgary. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It will change. We were suffering minus 47 Celsius for a great portion. And I was with the wind chill. It was only minus 36. So maybe I'm inflating that a little, but it was minus 36 with a wind chill of minus 47 Celsius. I'm not sure what that works out into Fahrenheit. I can tell you it dang cold. It was awful. And that we experienced that from the last time we recorded, oddly enough, and right through the entire work week. Right through to the 23rd when it finally kind of broke. It was one of those times where the weather was just settled in. But when it broke, it would heat up overnight, not fueled by the sun. It was crazy. And now we're getting temperatures up above zero. Today we're expecting +5. So I'll be out there in my shorts. And it's crazy the weather we've had, but it's been nice. And it's Boxing Day here and everything is going well. We're loving life, living large, lots to celebrate.
Minus 47 Celsius is like minus 52 Fahrenheit.
Woof.
There is a special guest today, and I bet he would not like minus 52 Fahrenheit.
No, I don't imagine he would. And it is my distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce the guest into the Storm Cellar today. Joining us in the Storm Cellar, the one, the only, Saul. Saul, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining us in the Storm Cellar today. We're really looking forward to this.
Hi.
Hey. So now, I got to ask, how was Christmas? Do you have a good time for Christmas? It was lots of fun?
Yeah.
And Santa says you were pretty good this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Love to hear it. Now, Saul is joining us in the program for twofold reasons. Number one, of course, we're going to do what we always do, find out a little bit about how he became a Hurricanes fan, but he's also got big announcement and we want to help promote that as well. So first of all, Saul, thank you so much for joining us. And why don't you tell us a little bit about, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you were a Hurricane fan?
So tell us, how did you become a Hurricanes fan?
I'm honestly trying to remember the story of what happened in the first place.
Did you receive any sort of influences at all? Were you influenced at all by the folks around you?
My dad is a super fan.
Is your dad like a kind of guy who would like go out and like get like a Hurricanes podcast or something crazy like that, and like that kind of a fan?
Maybe.
Were you ever a Bruins fan to start?
No.
Not really.
No.
We forgot about that period of time. That's fine.
You know what? It's great to purge those times out of your head and think now of the pure great days of being a Caniac. Being a Caniac is good times, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Canes are awesome.
you, unlike so there are a lot of great Caniacs. We've had a bunch on the show. There are I found out somebody today is in Ottawa who have invited to be on the show, another Canadian Caniac.
Nice.
But you have fallen in love with the Canes to the point that you are going to start a new podcast, right? With I don't know, maybe I could be the co-host of that, right?
That
Maybe.
And what's that going to be called?
The Whale Tail.
A whale's tail. And what's the
the
whale's tail?
whale's tail. Yeah, tell us about it.
The Storm Settler covers like everything that's happened in the last week or so.
Usually week by
week or
week-ish.
so.
Yeah,
Week or
week-ish,
so.
yeah.
Hurricanes in that season, but this covers pretty much everything pre-Canes.
So basically the history of the Whalers from Boston to Hartford.
Oh my goodness. Saul, I am so excited to be hearing that. As a huge fan myself, I will love every single bit of this. It's so important to know about the history of the show. And it's gonna be so great. And Brad, I know that you're gonna be taking a little bit of part in this, helping kind of, organizing it and stuff, but having Saul be kind of the host and you kind of helping guide him along, I think that's such a great idea. It helps get the kids involved in the idea, in the sport, in the team. And I love when kids take advantage of these types of opportunities. They want to get involved and do cool things. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So a little father-son podcast. I'm gonna let him. So I'm gonna be the research guy. We've
Sure.
decided that at his age, the research part is hard. Some of it he'll want to do with me. It's some of it's gonna be fun. Pat Pickett's book on the Whalers is one of to me it's kind of the ultimate book on where to go for good Whalers history and stories and things. That's kind of for a lot of the podcast. But it's walls of text, right? It's like most books.
Could be very dry.
I'm a fan of those books. It's I like to dig in, get that nonfiction, factual, historical stuff. That's what I'm into. But at his age, we're going to save the research aspects for more of the fun things or the things that people may not want to necessarily know. And then so we're later. We were hoping to start it at the start of hockey season, but with between school and work and everything, we're hoping to have the first episodes out here in January. So we're actually actively going to be working on it here during the holiday break. But totally looking forward to the Whale's Tale.
It's going to be so great. The Whale's Tale. I'm as a fan, and I know there is a lot of our Caniacs and jerks, some of which who have joined us on the show, who have loved the Whalers as much as I did, perhaps more. And they would love to have this kind of breakdown and have a young person like Saul take over and share these great stories. So Saul, what a great idea this was. I can't wait to hear it. You're going to do a great job with it. I just got a feeling.
Thanks, Ray.
No trouble, man. You're the best. And you came up with the name. That's right?
It was a collaboration between us two.
Collaboration.
I was stuck on the name for like about, I'd say, 3 weeks since I thought of it. Since I first thought of it.
Yeah, a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, for like 3 weeks since I first thought of it, I was stuck. Then Dad said the Whale's Tail.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Those having the right name for a podcast is so important. So it's good that you took your time to figure it out and give it some thought, right? Because you need a good name to encourage people to come and listen. Sometimes they'll look at it and go, the Whale's Tale. Hey, that's kind of neat. What's that about? You know what I mean? So good job in the collaboration.
Can I make Moby Dick puns for the Whale's Tale?
Uh,
It's a famous story about a whale.
I know about the Moby Dick story. Like it was like there was like a white whale,
Mhm.
and
The
then
great white whale, yeah.
named Moby Dick, and then there was this guy who was trying to catch it, and it was like bounty they would pay to anyone who could capture Moby Dick.
Is that a yes to whale puns?
Maybe.
Me. That's outstanding. And we got the Cole's Notes version of Moby Dick for those folks who maybe have always been interested in checking out the book, but they look at the size of the book and they say, no, it's too much. Saul broke it down for us perfectly. The Cole's Notes right there. I love it.
It's a good book. If you haven't read Moby Dick, you should. But
yeah.
Between that or listening to a cool podcast about the New England / Hartford Whalers, you should do that instead.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Saul, we're so glad for this. And we can't wait for that first episode. We won't push you though. You take your time, want to make sure it's all heavily researched and ready to go.
I'm gonna allow him to do 3, like 2 per episode max.
2 max.
2 puns. Okay.
You know what?
That's
3 max, and then I am definitely not going to like if any more than 3, it just gets too, and then it's just not funny anymore.
You know what? more than 3, and you might have to get the harpoon to make it stop. And we don't want the harpoon.
Then we have to go back to the New England Whalers for the harpoon.
That we absolutely do.
Yeah, you're right. Like we're gonna have to start the whole show all the way over. We'd never get it done.
We'd never get it done.
Episode over.
Episode.
The whole episode. The blowhole episode.
Hi-oh! See, we've already started.
That's only 2. I get 1 more.
This is so outstanding. I love that it's a collaboration for the 2 of you. This is going to be so much fun. Anxiously awaiting this one, and that we're looking at probably coming up sometime 2023. You know what I mean? A great New Year type celebration. Correct?
Absolutely. Before he has to run, the other thing we want to talk about a little bit is we're getting close. We're at the end of December. It's finally getting close, Ray. Hall of Fame night and the Stadium Series game. Sully, are you excited to be? You haven't been to a Canes game you and I went to a Canes game together. I think it was 4 years ago now at PNC Arena. And I don't know how much you really remember, but
I feel like I might remember like staying for like 20 minutes and then like
you and Mom did a lot of searching around the concourse, exploring the food options, as I recall. We were there for Hockey Fights Cancer Night with some good friends.
Cancer Night. Yeah. Now I remember.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think you did a sampling of all the different options there. There are new ones now. We get to try Shake Shack and some other things at PNC. The barbecue nachos. I've never had those.
I thought my uncle. Didn't I like put my uncle's name on like the wall?
Yep, you sure did.
Yep.
That's outstanding. And what was what did you settle on? What did you settle on, son? When you go through and had what was your favorite food?
I think you had popcorn, a hot pretzel, dip or good berries, maybe Dippin' Dots.
I do not remember.
Yeah, chicken fingers. There was an assortment. I don't know.
I don't actually remember any of
that's okay. Part. In February 16th, Ray will be at the Hall of Fame game, as will we. We're going to get to see Ray in person. You're going to get to meet Ray in person.
I can't wait.
We're going to be inducting Cam Ward, Ron Francis, Rod Brindamore, Glenn Wesley into the Hurricanes Hall of Fame. That's going to be a huge night.
Oh.
And then 2 days later, on February 18th, the long-awaited Stadium Series outdoor game at Carter Finley Stadium. Are you looking forward to maybe tailgating for a little bit?
Yahoo!
You have every reason to cheer like that. Tailgating is the absolute best.
Ray is seeing what the Caniacs can do when somebody's excited to be there and they throw on a party. We're definitely going to Parker's. We're going to get barbecue and hush puppies. There's going to be, I've already talked to some of my old, coworkers and hockey friends who still live in the area. A couple folks who were in my wedding are going to be there. So it's going to be nice to catch up with folks and meet new folks. But the tailgating it's almost on level with the game itself in terms of what I'm excited for, because it's not something I get to do here in Massachusetts. Even if I was a Bruins fan, the Garden is right in the middle of the city, and underneath is a parking deck. You can't tailgate in a parking deck. It's just not
you can't.
a thing that you can do. So super excited for that. He's excited. I'm excited. Mom will be excited because it won't be freezing cold probably in North Carolina. It'll be chilly, but not like zero kind of chilly.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be fun. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? I love that. Saul measures his thoughts. You measure twice.
He doesn't get that from me.
Yeah, you know what? You measure twice, you cut once. That's how it works. And Saul, I love the way you do that. That's very, very smart. Because I blurt things out all the time and sometimes don't think. So Saul, you're doing that great. Saul, thank you so much for joining us in the Storm Cellar. You've made it one of the best ever. Saul, fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Cheers, buddy. You have a great time, okay?
Bye.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye now. Well, Brad, there it is. Another great guest in and out with so much on the go for us as well, because this whale's tale is going to be just sensational. Such a great idea and a perfect example of what parents can do with kids to keep them excited on things that they enjoy. And I love how you're letting him kind of direct things. I know you've told me a number of times about how this is going, and you're kind of letting him set the direction and you're just helping form around it. And that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. That's exactly what it is. This is, part podcast, part learning opportunity. It's a chance to, we're a big family on experiential learning, and that goes through adults. The university I work for has a big experiential learning department. It's great to read things and see things. It's another thing to do things, and when you do things, you learn things that aren't necessarily in the book, or you learn new ways to do them. So we're a big experiential learning family. I think doing something like a podcast, he's already started to learn about how to think about logo design, right? Can't be overcomplicated. What looks good full screen doesn't look good as a little icon on a website, for example, or maybe you only have 250 by 250 pixels, like you have to make it work. So he's seeing that and starting to think that way. And then what do you do about topics? Like do you put them in a chronological order? Do you group things by topic? Do you, so how is this going to flow? And then it just kind of goes on and on from there. The audio editing, he actually edited our last podcast on his own.
Oh my!
I helped him with where to cut and do those things, but he did the which is cool, right?
That's sensational. As someone, and I'll tell you this, as someone who has a lot of experience cutting audio tape and so forth like that, through computers and old school with the actual tape, I can tell you it's not easy. And so for him to just dabble a little bit and learn, and he did a great job. Our last cast was sensational, cut beautifully.
I don't think anybody would have known.
No, exactly. And so that's sensational. That's great stuff. I love the experiential learning aspect that you're promoting. And oddly enough, I think the Hurricanes did some experiential learning, especially on the very last game before the Christmas break. But before we get there, we get to talk about the joy Hurricane fans and the team itself experienced on the way in. Since the last time we had a chance to talk, there's been 4 games.
Yep. Hold on 1 second, Ray. Sorry. Let's pause for 2 seconds. I want to fix my audio.
All right. And so what I love about what you're doing there, Brad, is it's the experiential learning that's so important. And oddly enough, our Carolina Hurricanes did a little experiential learning. How do you like that for a segue? Especially on the final game against Philly, there was a big experiential learning experience there. However, let's talk first about the games leading up to that learning moment, where Hurricane fans and jerks, Caniacs everywhere were thoroughly enjoying the results. Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Pittsburgh again, and Philly all wins. Unbelievable. It's a great heater for us right now. Let's break it down. What did you think about how this all played itself out? Was there things that were standing out for this one?
I think my biggest takes about these games, other than the specifics, I mean, obviously we can get in, a little bit more. Power play still not necessarily clicking all that great. Impressed by a team that Sebastian Aho, who I've jokingly said several times is holding the team back, goes out, and the Canes go on a heater, and the depth scoring steps up, which is what's been lacking for the whole start of the season, even going back into the last season.
Yeah.
So Sebastian Aho being out triggered other guys to need to step up. I think we mentioned that a little bit last week. And that's probably the most important part of this run to me, is these were team wins. This was not Aho, Svechnikov, and Natchez carrying the team on their back. This was 20 guys working together and getting, doing what has to be done and getting the wins. That's the most impressive part of this for me.
And I have to echo that. I was thoroughly impressed. I cannot tell you how concerned I was in hearing that Aho, not so much that he was out, but the length of time that he was out. I think it's the most significant amount of time in his career that he's been pulled out of action. He's someone who's, he was never, I don't want to assume that he was like an Iron Man, but on the same respect, he toughed through lots. And as every player in the NHL has to do, really. I mean, that's just not a easy sport. You're going to get dinged up pretty good. And to go through an entire career without major injuries is just unicornish. And so for Aho, as it continued, I was going, when is he coming back? And then I started to get really quite concerned. Before the game, every time I'm like, man, Aho's not back. Like, how bad is this injury? What's going on? And then I'd watch the game and remember, oh yeah, Rod's got the whole team going, and everyone knows that they have expanded roles, new jobs that they have to do, and they're all ready for the task at hand.
To step back half a step, initially when Aho went out, I thought this was going to be a game or two. I don't know if other people kind of got that impression from Rod and the team, but I was like, oh, he tweaked a little something. This is minor. No problem. He's going to maybe miss the road trip, whatever.
Yeah.
Two games, whatever, he's back. And then it's 3 games, 4 games, 5 games. And now you're starting to think, okay, this is clearly not major, but it's not minor, right? This is a legit injury. This isn't somebody playing a little hurt. And you worry about those things, but you're right. And not just Rod Brind'Amour getting these guys, Pyotr Kochetkov and the way he is played And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit too. When he jumps over the boards and sits down with Slavin for his
Oh my
first start interview, because
gosh.
he's feeling a little more comfortable with his English. He's able to do these, like he doesn't need Svets there,
Yeah.
as a safety blanket. And the kid has a palpable just charisma about him that people, I think, just are loving. I mean, I can't think of any Caniacs who aren't loving the kid, even when he, even before this amazing run.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's another one where they play different in front of him. They play in front of him akin to the way they played in front of some of the Hurricanes greats, Weeksy,
Yeah.
Cam Ward, Urbe when he was on fire. There's this little bit of swagger. Like it. I was listening to another podcast and heard a quote from Mike Maniscalco was on there, which was an interesting interview. I learned a lot about Mike. It was from Home Ice Advantage. And I didn't realize Mike had, he was the Buffalo Sabres video guy for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into the whole story, but one of the things he said was, he remembers being there and back when Hasek was there, and Hasek kind of had the attitude like, you guys score a goal and I'll get us
I'll
over
take
the
care
finish
of the
line.
rest.
And I've said a few times, Piotr reminds me of Urbe. He reminds me of Hasek. His confidence reminds me of Hasek, because that feels like something Piotr would say to a locker room, probably in broken English or Russian, but the point gets across.
Yeah.
He has that sense to him. And when you have guys like that on your team, so, all due respect to Brind'Amour, right? He's the one who laid this foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But when you bring in guys with that kind of character, I mean, you can see why these guys, you can see that next man up mentality. It's not a slogan. It's not something they're sticking or painting on the wall. And that's it. Like, these guys are living, breathing proof of that, right? You go into
Agreed.
You go into the Pittsburgh game and you get, Stepan, Stahl, and Shea. Next game up, it's Stahl again, KK, Tavo. Then you get back to Natchez. My boy Chatfield gets his first.
Yeah.
Slavin, Stahl again. Your third line center is on a heater.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jasper Fast is on Hattie Watch for 2 full periods. KK gets his second in a week. So not to jump ahead, but the confidence these guys are playing with in front of their goaltenders and for their coaches, just really fun to watch. This is win or lose. If we can have hockey games and guys working like this, I'm a happy fan.
100%. I can't agree more. I said this the night of the game against New Jersey. Piotr stole that game, and when he hopped the boards at the end, he stole NHL fans' hearts. Everyone was talking about it. They loved it. They loved everything about it. His enthusiasm, and he carries that charismatic aura. I'll drop into the D&D cross-pollination again. The charismatic aura is unbelievable. What he exudes, there's a confidence and a patience. And, Trip Tracy says it a number of times. It's funny, he's so quiet in the net. His movements are measured until he absolutely needs to do something to prevent a sure goal. And then he goes full Hasek, and it's like, and it's unusual, but he's seeing the puck through the screens and you see him, and he's technically, and I'm not a goaltender, so I can't speak the same way Trip does with knowledge of being a goaltender, but you can see the technically sound way that he plays the game, and he knows when he needs to get unorthodox at the right time, and it's sensational. And when you see that type of play as a teammate, it's constantly giving you a boost. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a bad shift, you turn around and you look back and he makes this sensational save. Suddenly you got the pep again and you're ready to go, and you know what I mean? And it's that self-fulfilling cycle, right? Where it's always, and it's positive.
Right.
It's going in a positive direction as opposed to going the other way. And it's great. I love it.
He reminds me of like a wild cat, I guess would be the best example. Because
Yeah.
he's, even when it looks like chaos, I don't feel like it's chaos. It looks like chaos. I think he is in full control. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not just hoping for the best.
Yep.
But he we could have a whole show dedicated. I just love the
We
kid.
absolutely could. He's so great. So great. And so like, and we'll stop on that New Jersey game because I need to give some props to that team, who is on a terrible drought right now, but not for the lack of effort on their parts. I mean, Kochetkov stole that game, and we've talked about, unearned points that the Canes have picked up in the past. And that was one of those games because they were tremendously outplayed throughout the game.
A lot of people were super happy with that game, and I was, because they won. That game was way closer than a 4-1 score.
And there's no question.
If you go back and rewatch it and look at the stats, New Jersey had a ton of high danger chances that Piotr just took care of for you. That game was way closer than the score would lead you to believe, for sure.
And there was a couple of points in the game where New Jersey had outshot the Hurricanes by double. And that just doesn't happen as a rule. The Hurricanes are high volume shooters, but they put so much pressure on the Canes. Like it was, and I've said this to you a number of times. I've said it on Twitter as well. It's like New Jersey out-caned the Canes. They played our game, the style of game, the high pressure, the high forecheck, the high volume shooting to perfection. And they ran into an ultra hot goaltender, and that's what stopped them. And let's face it, they got terrible goaltending, hence the reason why Vanacek was pulled. Those were, aside from the one, I think they were almost all of them were kind of soft. I mean, there's one where he was got like Tavo's goal was through a screen, but in the same respect, he just didn't, it was like he wasn't locating the puck. There was just something off.
A little off night for them.
And
yeah,
we took advantage. The Hurricanes took advantage, and it was great.
Right? I mean, that puts you on top of the Metro,
yes.
Second in the league. So from the people who were on the edge a month ago, the Hurricanes are second in the league, only behind the Bruins, who are just still on a heater.
Oh man,
goal differentials coming up. That's I bring that up a lot because that's a stat that I think it doesn't tell you how good a team is playing at the moment, but it gives you a general idea of team health over the course of weeks or the season.
Yes.
And the Hurricanes, a lot of people, to RB Caniac, who on Twitter says this a lot, people are regressing towards the mean, whether that means the Hurricanes are getting better or other teams are getting worse. And that's one of those stats that looks that way.
Yeah.
The Bruins have a plus 56 goal differential. Oh. The Canes have gone up to a plus 16. They were a -2 there for a while, just a couple weeks ago. This is not that long ago. But everybody else in the league is coming down into like the low to mid 20s, which is more expected. So,
and
I think the Hurricanes are in good shape for this time of season, getting ready to start. Not quite the back half, but I always think of after the Christmas place as the back half. So,
and I'll use that differential, the goal differential that the Hurricanes have, as a jumping off point for the next topic, which is that would have been a lot higher if not for what happened in the third period in the Flyers game. So I will save this for the question point of the program. Normally I would, but was that game a success to you or a failure?
Yes.
Right?
That game. So a quick anecdote. So our guest with the start of the third period, the Canes are riding up. It's time to go to bed. You don't need to keep watching. Clearly they're going to win the game. And I retorted with, you just don't know. I still felt really confident at that point. But much like the Hurricanes, who also apparently felt confident, who started sitting back,
Oh,
then they give up not one but two shorthanded goals. So if I'm always
yeah.
saying you don't deserve to win giving up a shorthanded goal,
How
I
do
don't
you
even
deserve
have
to
an
win with
expression.
2?
I don't even have an expression for that, right? Because it shouldn't happen. It just should never happen. But
And the worst part about that is they were 2 for 2. They were 2 for 2 on the power play before. They had showed great skill and pattern, and they were successful on the power play. So you're feeling great in the first 2 periods. You're feeling great. You're loving how it's going. Everything's looking up. And then all of a sudden, breakaway goals on the power play. And it made me wonder what you thought about, and it's a style that almost every team in the league will use, and that is 4 forwards, 1 defenseman. Every
I saw
time.
that. And I thought it was a mistake with a 3-goal lead, or excuse me, a 4-goal lead. I think it was at that point.
Yeah.
You don't need to score. You just need to chew up time, and that kind of is that don't take your foot off the gas mentality. So I can't fault Rod for that.
Right.
Right? Because any other time we would have said, no, you got to keep your foot on the gas, you got to put them away.
Yeah.
With a 4-goal lead going into the third, you've kind of put them away. I don't want to say don't go after it, but we have guys on defense who can shoot. I mean, obviously, Brett Burns on power play 1 is one of those guys.
Yep.
Brady Shea, Brett Pesce
Shea.
both been putting pucks in the net.
They have.
I would have gone 2 defensemen. I don't know necessarily that would have helped, but you would think that it was. I think one of those goals was with Jarvis. I think was the man back, and the other one was
the other was with Tavo.
So, and going back to the original question, I think this is the kind of game that, as a fan, kind of hurts because you're like, oh, that was closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
As a coach, I think a little part of you, Ted Lasso's it a little bit and is like, oh, okay. So we had him up 6-2, and they came back and scored 3 and made it really interesting there for the last couple of minutes.
Mm.
And adversity is good in this situation. You beat an Eastern Conference team. You got the adversity. Nothing terrible happened, but I think you have to take it that way, and I think that's Rod's that kind of a coach. Antti Raanta, had an .839 save percentage, stopped 26 of 31. Not a great night for him.
Not a great night, but so unfair.
Raanta did not give up 5 goals in a vacuum. And for the folks who, we've talked about this a few times because of how well Piotr's playing. I see a lot of people like, just get rid of Raanta. He's garbage. It's like, well, you can't, because Anderson has an injury history. You can't get rid of Anderson because at least immediately, maybe at the trade deadline, because Raanta has that history. But we both know he's capable of playing so much better. I'm not sure that he isn't playing through something a little bit. He's gotten up slow a couple of times. Yeah. I've seen a few things where I'm like, he kind of like last year, like, I don't think he's 100%. Like, he's going at 85% because there is no other option. Right. And I'm not so sure that isn't something going on that we just don't know about.
And it's kind of how Piotr has earned, and it makes sense because everyone says Piotr has earned the number 1 spot, and his play has totally earned it. But there's that extra little bit of reason to keep him in the net because it gives, Raanta a chance to get to 100%. And I have to wonder if any NHL player who suffers injury actually ever gets to 100% while the league is underway, while regular season is underway, while the playoffs, they ever really get back to 100%? I don't know. I don't know that it's possible.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you define it. To me, 100% means if you or I, if I go out and trip and fall and bruise my leg,
Yeah,
I got a bruise that hurts, but
yeah,
physically I'm not injured, right? I'm hurt.
right.
And to me, 100% would mean that it means you're playing hurts, but you're not injured. So I would say yes. Now, do I think
See,
anybody's getting up in the morning like, oh, I feel absolutely fantastic today in April? I don't think so. I think, I think
and
everybody's working through those bumps and bruises at least. So
my definition is slightly different. When I think 100%, I think no injury, no pain, and no concerns. You know what I mean? Like it,
right.
if you're not worried about how your knee is going to hold up or how that shoulder feels or whatever when you're taking shots. Sure, it feels good now, but that first solid check that you get in the corner is going to test you. And is that the bug in the back, or sorry, is that the in the back of your mind kind of lingering there? Like, how am I gonna, that to me is like 100%. And I don't think anyone really gets there during the season
I
if
would
they
agree with
have been
that.
injured. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
If
would
they have been
totally agree
injured,
with that
there's
for
just
sure.
no way. So it's so hard to and goaltenders are funny creatures, right? Confidence is so much part of it. And so having anything linger in the back of their head can get in the way of the job that they're there to do.
More so than
They can't
anybody
be
else, right?
100%,
You
100%.
start thinking
So much
about knees
fall,
and ankles.
yeah, and so much falls on the goaltenders too, because again, the final defender, right? You're always in a game if your goaltender can stand up and make some crazy saves, even if the rest of the 20 players on the ice right that night stink. You can still win a game, and
Mhm.
certainly the Hurricanes have proven that. So it's just such a crazy, uneasy situation. What's not uneasy though is, and we would be remiss if we did not talk about this, is how important the Canes have played against the Metro. I think they're up to 8-0-1 now. It's either 7 or 8-0-1 now against Metro teams, and we've spoken about that at great length. The importance of winning those games. Some games mean more than others, and
Get
we're
the right
winning
points.
those very big games.
And Carolina, and I feel like this maybe it's true for all teams. Carolina for a long time plays down to opponents who they should beat, but they typically play up to opponents who should give them trouble, and sometimes make it look easy. Sometimes it's a battle, but they find a way to grit it out. That's what the good team. That's what That's what the great teams do. The good teams attempt it and then sometimes fall short. But the Hurricanes are 9-0-1 in their last 9, and I'm sorry, in their last 10, and I think that's better than any team in the league.
It is.
Pittsburgh is 8-1-1. That one loss, Hurricane. Those two losses, Hurricanes.
Correct.
Right? The one and the one. Next close to that, you have, I think it's Buffalo 7-2-1. You have a few teams at 7. Washington Capitals are 9-1-0. They have a 4-game winning streak. They're trying to come out of the Metro. Hurricanes have an 8-game win streak. A franchise record-setting 14-game point streak on the books.
And
feels good.
It does feel good. And you laid out the makings of a perfect segue when you talk about playing the Hurricanes having ability at times to play down to their opponents, and playing down is the very definition of the next contest. And I'm sorry to our Chicago Blackhawk fans and
sorry, Courtney.
podcasters
And Beth.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but this is way, way, way down. And another trap game that the Canes have lost to Arizona. They bombed. What was the other one they bombed? It was so awful. Game that you have to win. I have, and so have I. I've tried to erase them from the memory, and we might be, lots of times people's memories get erased around this time of year thanks to libations and stuff. Let's not have it be. Let's have it because of that instead of a terrible game against a team that's tanking.
Yeah, the Bedard
horribly
teams, right?
And Florida, what's going on in Florida? I don't.
What a difference a year makes.
It is. It's very, very strange. I'm not. I don't want to put it on Paul Maurice. I actually quite like him. I might have been one of the few that
I liked him. That did not mean I wanted him coaching the team at a certain point, if that makes sense. As an individual, I think Paul Maurice is an excellent interview. He's a super nice guy. I've met him many times. I told him straight up a few times that, I didn't like the style. Not that we weren't playing well. I didn't like playing like a left wing lock. I didn't like seeing us play the trap because it was boring. Like I said it to his face, 15 years ago. I'll say it tomorrow. But I mean it. Like, what a difference a year makes. Last year, Florida was a juggernaut.
It was
from start to finish. Like, these guys should be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And this year, I don't even think about them, to be honest. That's how far they've fallen so quickly. They're not even on my radar.
And it's so funny. They've got so much talent there too. That's a really dangerous trap game. Maybe I guess that's the Chicago one is a straight up trap game. It's a game that on paper, if you're a betting person, it's one that you're not really interested in betting on because there's no return. You have to put so much money down. If you want to bet on the Canes, you'd have to put so much money down to make anything. It doesn't make sense, right? These are the kind of games that you would stay away from. But you look at the Florida one, and Florida has the talent to beat anyone in the team. But they've been having issues in net. Bobrovsky is not who he, can be, although maybe he is being who he is. You know what I mean? Bobrovsky, who has been sensational at times, is very inconsistent, where he struggles at times and he can't be saved. I don't know what they're doing down there or how they're going to fix it, but they got to get that ship righted quick, because if the Atlantic is going to run away from them. There's some good teams in the Atlantic. They're going to run away from them, and they're not even going to be an option for the wild card.
They're a sub 500 team. I just had to look it up. I knew that they weren't playing well, but they're sub 500 team right now.
How is that possible with that roster?
Can you imagine being a fan? I mean, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of 2007 or 2003.
Yeah.
Right. 2003, especially, maybe you get to the Stanley Cup Finals. You're playing against perhaps the single greatest team to ever be put on ice. And then the next year, you just goose egg it and you don't make the playoffs. That might be Florida. Although they got to the playoffs last year and couldn't score a power play goal.
Yeah.
I mean, Caniacs.
Oy. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week coming up, but things like we have always kind of alluded to are trending in the right direction. We're trending in the right direction. Let's just put the Hawks down, take care of that one there, take care of Florida, then we jump into the new year, and it's gonna be great.
And we're starting the new year off right, Ray.
Oh yeah?
In New Jersey.
Oh boy.
For a game New Jersey's gonna be up for. They
hugely up for.
They should feel like we stole that last game. They're gonna want some payback. We followed up on the third against the Rangers. Shesterkin
Oh man.
Still good, but not
Not
last year good.
no.
Much, Shesterkin's path this year has been very Ronta / Anderson-esque. Anderson's kind of been hurt maybe too long to make the comparison with him, but
Yeah.
his save percentage is up there, but his goals against is I think 244, which isn't bad by any means.
But not what he's used to putting up.
Piotr's got a 1.94.
Oh, how sensational is that?
It's just it boggles the mind for he's a baby. He's young enough to literally be either of our kids.
Isn't that he is 23. That's how old my daughter is. Just craziness.
And when I met him in Springfield during the Calder Cup, like I'm the nervous one.
Yeah. Hey, he just sensational. We're so looking forward to that. Brad, we had told everyone Boxing Day would be question day, an opportunity for those who have enjoyed either spending time in or listening to the Storm Cellar to put us on the spot, ask us a few questions, fire things at us. And this time I wanted to make it a little bit more meaningful because I've got this great lithograph in my collection of the Cam Ward. I've also got another one that I may be giving away at one point or another. So just a teaser there for those of you out there. And we wanted to get some questions. We were going to take some time to answer. There's some great ones that I spotted off the top. Should we dive in here and then maybe?
Yeah, let's. I think what we'll do is, are we going to give out the lithograph randomly, or do we want to decide on like the best question, or just food for
I like random, although I'm also a big fan of rewarding for good questions. The problem is lots of times, and the last time we did a question thing, we got so many great questions, it would have been mind-boggling, too tough to pick. So we kind of want to go the random way.
I just transparency for those
Sure.
questions. But let's jump into it. Thomas Baker on Twitter as Out on a Branch said, why do Canes games dislike the Hartford Whalers jerseys and gear so much? So I think he's talking about that segment of Caniacs who just wants nothing to do with Hartford. That's a great question, Thomas, because I do fully understand it. And this will be something where on the other podcast that was mentioned earlier, The Whale's Tale, we'll be talking about this. We'll have a whole episode dedicated to, at the end of that podcast, at the end of its run, as we transfer, because that's going to be a Whalers history podcast, right? So when we get to the move to Hartford, my goal is to have a podcast episode that we can put out on both podcasts. So it'll be on this one and on the Whale Tale.
Nice.
About this very issue. The short version, Thomas, I think people for so long have given Caniac so much gruff about hockey doesn't belong in the South and those things, that some people just want to cut that cord and just pretend like the team is only exists in Carolina. Peter Carmanos plays no small part in that.
Yeah.
He did not leave on good terms. He always, in my opinion, once he was in Carolina, was like, nope, May 6th of the day, 1997. There is no history before that. Some people, I see a lot of folks who say it's a cash grab. And I'm not going to say it isn't, because it is. But if the team doesn't make money, they move. So I'm okay with cash grabs. If people are willing to pay the money, that's Tom Dundon bought the team, and all of a sudden we've had 6 new jerseys. That's not they're all cash grabs, folks.
Yeah, all of them.
The reverse retros, the 25th anniversary edition, the black alternates, the Stadium Series. They're about making money, folks. It's not just the Whale jerseys. So I don't like that argument because it's overly simplistic. Every team does it. For those of us, and Ray was part of this, is how he got his name of Judge Wapner of trying to be fair. For those of us who lived during those first early years, 97, 98, we took a lot, and I do mean a lot of crapola from not just Whalers fans, but people who just did not want hockey in North Carolina. And so for older folks like us, I get those people having a chip on their shoulder. For younger fans, I think it's the opposite. I think, we talked to folks who got into hockey after the team moved. And so why should they care about Whalers history? It doesn't affect them, right? They've known the team only as the Carolina Hurricanes. So I get that. I wish there wasn't as much resistance, about it, but I do understand where those folks are coming from. That's my take. What do you think?
Look, I liken this, and maybe I'll try to find a parallel here. Imagine, if you will, a young person who is in a long line of very successful people doing one job. Okay. And you get to the very end, and this next generation wants to make a name for themselves on their own, doing it their way. They don't care about what happened in the past. They want to be their own identity. And I think there is a great deal of that in the thing, where we are Hurricanes. Okay. So let's enjoy. And especially the people that suffered through some very dark days, as Hurricanes, right? They, now that we're on, at the top, near the top of the league, they want to keep celebrating that. And who are we? Are we the Hurricanes? Are we the Whalers? Like, they want to be their own identity. And that is where I think their mindset is at. And it's understandable. You want to be your own person. For me, and for the young people, and I hate sounding like a grandpa, yelling at the kids on my lawn, or the yelling at the clouds. There is always something to be learned when you take the time to honor your history and respect it and see where you come from. Here's the thing. The Whalers, who ended in that final season in Hartford, were all the same players who played for the Hurricanes. This is part of the history. The man who scored the final goal for the Whalers scored the very first ever goal for the Hurricanes, Kevin Dineen. I'm telling you, there are things that and they were all, the players were all kind of along for the ride. They didn't have say where they were playing, and certainly put into a strange situation, where the Greensboro and the whole thing, right? There's a whole history there, and it needs to be respected and honored. And there have been some amazing players in Hartford who, oddly enough, also played for the Hurricanes. And you respect the time and their growth. I mean, you see a lot of those players who started late with the Whalers that moved in to Carolina and continued to grow and be the greats that we loved, So that's my thing. And yes, I always shudder when I hear the cash grab thing, because for me, first and foremost, while I acknowledge it's an opportunity to make money, to me it's honoring the history, honoring where you come from, what it's all about. And podcasts like the Whale's Tale, which is coming, are going to be great. That's why I'm so hyped for it, because we're going to get to break it down and see and understand everything about the foundation of this squad. And really, it was the foundation of a squad built somewhere else and then transferred over, kind of deal. My take. And so it will annoy some people. It'll annoy some people. And I respect the desire to want to be your own individuals. And we are the Hurricanes. That's who we are now. The one thing that, and I would thank you for mentioning the whole, how I got the Judge Wapner name. The hate and distrust was directed in the wrong at the wrong target. You know what I mean? On both sides. On both sides,
I remember.
completely aimed at the wrong people. And for me, I was trying to just say, just point out the obvious. Why are you ticked off at these guys? These are people, fans, who are excited for the team to come to them because they want to be a part of it. They want to understand and love it. And what a great opportunity. Likewise, the Hurricanes fans why don't you understand why the Whalers fans are so upset? They're getting something that they love taken from them. Have some understanding. And it was hard.
Empathy.
When the emotions run hot like that, you start losing perspective on who you should be angry with. And it turned into this conglomeration of hate and anger and so much. And I wanted to put a stop to it because there was a long game to be played. And hopefully it came through for some. It made a lot of them laugh. I'll tell you that. It like when I did it, it diffused a little bit. There were a few guys that kind of laughed and said, okay, point taken, right? But those feelings are still there. How do you ever explain to a Whalers fan who spent all their time at the Civic Center, how do you explain to them that they don't have a right to be angry because their team was stolen, because they're not getting to see NHL hockey? How do you can't.
Well, empathy.
There's no fixing that.
Put yourself in those shoes, right?
Yeah. And there just wasn't enough. So that's kind of my take. I think that's the reason why they just want to be their own people. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it.
Sure, I get that.
And that was long-winded, and I'm sorry.
No, no. As a Whalers fan, I think you, as of anybody that I know, and I know other people who came over as Whalers fans, I think y'all's perspective on it is important because you lived through it, not just when it started once the team was announced, but you kind of saw maybe this is coming, and then you saw it happen, and then so I love it. We do have other questions though. So
cool.
Bill J on Twitter says, in your opinion, when Freddie is healthy enough to play, who sits?
Man, oh man, this is tough. And now everyone's talking about it. It wasn't just us talking about it here in the Storm Cellar. Now everyone's talking about it. Everyone has, I think it's been unanimous. Piotr is now the number one and probably should be the number one when Freddie comes back. I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. And this might be one of those unique situations and unfortunate situations in a sense that Piotr has earned his right to be the number one and should stay number one until otherwise proven. So if Freddie comes back, I think Freddie sits and gets a couple of jumps in, but Kochetkov is now the number one. Regardless of what Freddie did for us last year, which was Vezina-worthy recognition for what he did last season before he got injured, Piotr's the guy. The question, not to answer a question with a question, but we've already talked about it. Are we carrying 3 goaltenders or not? It's not just where is Freddie going to be? Is he going to be a backup or is he going to be the number one? Is he going to be in the press box? Who's going to be in the press box? Is there any goaltender going to be in the press box? That's the situation that we're in right now.
100%. Originally, I said you send Piotr back to the AHL to get experience. You keep Anderson and Rantanen. if Ronta does have some kind of a nagging injury, even if it's minor, I think you sit him and you just let him heal up, right? You just try and get guys to be 100% as close as you can going to the playoffs. I do think it's Piotr's net to lose maybe at this point. I've softened on the idea he should definitely go back to the HL, because I think 3 goalies is the alternative. I don't think you trade either of Ronta or Anderson until the trade deadline as late as possible if you need to make a move or want to make a move.
Right.
Part of the issue that people I think maybe miss with 3 goaltenders, it's not just you have 3 guys that are being paid as goaltenders with one of them practically in the press box, unless you're going to do a 3-man rotation. Think about things like practice.
Yeah.
There's 2 nets, 3 goaltenders.
Yeah.
So either one person is doing, or 1 or 2 guys are staying late and getting extra practice in, or they're splitting. You have your starters getting their workout and the other 2 guys are splitting their workout. It's a mess. There's reasons teams don't carry 3 netminders.
Yep.
Throughout. So I still think, and I know anytime I hear about sending Piotr back to the HL, I hear it's going to hurt his confidence if they lose. I don't think it is. I don't think Piotr's built that way. No. But long story short, just to answer your question, Carey, I think when Anderson comes back, if Ronta does have any kind of, even if it's just muscle tenderness or something, I think you sit Ronta for a little bit, you get Freddie back up to speed as the second guy.
Yeah. And
then then there are decisions, because that trade deadline at the end of February or March is going to come quick.
It is.
I like your analogy, Ray. Don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Piotr is playing lights out.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I just don't, with the injury history, I don't think you can get rid of one of those guys now, because we've said before, if you get rid of Ronta or Anderson, the other one gets hurt, you don't have another goaltender who is NHL ready.
We're on a kind of a knife's edge, aren't we? You know what I mean? Like, that's really, it's a very, very fine line of what can happen. And especially with the injury tendencies that 2 of our goaltenders have, it's just
it's a phenomenal and complicated question. And I said Carey, I meant Bill. The most difficult question to answer, I think, out of all the ones we've gotten, because
no question,
I don't think there's a right answer. I think there are wrong answers.
There are wrong answers. But, you're right.
But there are best we make do with what we can answers, and that's kind of where I'm gonna Carey's question, to get to Carey at CBP97_. What are you most looking forward to with the Stadium Series game?
This one's gonna maybe be a little bit of a surprise for folks, and it's I mean, of course, it's going to be the tailgating and the barbecue and stuff like that. I've never been inside a U.S. college football stadium. I've never been inside one. And while I have been in large stadiums here, Calgary's got one for their CFL football team and stuff like that, there is something about the college football vibe. College football is a thing, you know what I mean? Like, where there are some buildings that can house 100,000 fans and they're packed. Like, they're absolutely packed. It's going to be a new experience for me. So I think that is probably foremost the one that's for me, because I've never watched hockey in this unique outdoor situation, an outdoor NHL game. I mean, that's right up there where it's being played. And I think coming in third, but not because of, less importance, it's the opportunity to once again meet with so many people that I've had a chance to speak with online in the past, in person, people that I care a great deal about and have gotten to know and love, quite literally. But you don't get to see them very often. and it feels like family, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And that's it, and it's just like the family reunions. I mean, for some, a family reunion is not the greatest. I mean, let's be honest. Some people are unfortunate, and
Mhm.
that's their situation. But family reunion can be some of the best time of your life. With and this is what I'm looking forward to. There's so many people, and the tailgating and the whole experience of North Carolina in general, the triangle specifically. Like there's lots of great stuff to check out and be a part
It
of,
is.
and there's so much going on, and the team is really teeing this up nicely. Like
Mhm.
they're really organizing it well and teeing it up nicely to be a great time for everyone, and lots of reason to celebrate why hockey is and does deserve to be in North Carolina.
I'm with you. If I had to pick one thing, I would kind of combine. So to me, it's meeting people who listen to the show I only know through the internet. It's meeting people on message boards that you and I have been a part of different iterations of for 20 plus years. Some of
Yeah.
those people I still haven't met in person. You and I just met for the
Yeah.
first time this year. So
Yeah.
it's that, and as part of the tailgating, like I'm going to spend 10 hours tailgating for that reason.
Mhm.
It's the food and the music and the atmosphere, but it's going to be walking around and trying to see how many people can I connect with, because I think
Yeah.
that's the cool part. The game, I don't want to say the game is secondary, but um, watching a hockey game in a stadium is not going to be the easiest thing. So for newer fans, it might
Mhm.
be a little different. For older fans, it's going to be different for us as well, because it's just
Because
a
we're going to
different
be way
perspective.
back. We're going to be way
Definitely
back.
go get yourself some Bushnell 8X little micro binoculars. You're probably going to want them.
Yep.
So to me, because of the site limitation, if I wanted to see the game, if I wanted the best game experience, I would stay home.
Yeah.
Right? Because replays and not being outside in the cold and all those things I can do at home much better and get a better view of the actual gameplay at home.
Sure.
You go to games in part for the experience and the fans, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I really can't wait to put some faces with names online, or even for people who post pictures and all, or have been guests on the show that we've had a chance to talk to
Yeah.
be like, hey, thanks for coming on the show, making the show great. Thanks for being a Hurricanes fan. Like, tell us, like, I want to hear more. Like, I think we'll definitely walk around, and I have some mobile recording stuff to record and just chit chat with people, and I'll tie it up later on, into an
Yeah.
episode of just same thing, just getting little anecdotes from people and putting them together, or asking people a day of, like, how you feeling? Like, I think hockey in North Carolina is there to stay. I think this is the type of event where people will get to, it'll be a little bit of a showcase, right, for the team and the fans.
Sure.
Because anytime the fans get into the national spotlight, 2002, 2006, 2009, the Eastern Conference Finals run a few years ago,
Yep.
we represent well. And for
Always.
anybody who says, oh, you guys are all fair weather bandwagon, whatever, they, either they're just miserable people, or they don't really know or care. They're just trolling. But
Yeah.
anytime that the Caniacs have been on the national stage, I think we've really represented really well. And people like that. It's Jay Fresh had their annual survey of like most annoying fan bases, and I think the Hurricanes came in number one again. Awesome. Strive to be
Nice.
number one.
We're
You know,
jerks. Bunch
yeah,
of jerks.
it's fine. It's some of for the most part, I don't think Caniacs take themselves too seriously the way fans of some other teams who shall not be named do,
Yeah.
and that's part of it. Like we hockey's a sport. We're having fun with it. So that
Yep.
so for Carey, that's our answer. I think we're looking for the experience.
And Brad, I'm just to piggyback a tiny bit on your answer. Think about, we are going to be there, but we're also going to be there with guests that we've had on the show who have from all over the world.
Right.
I mean,
There are
this
people
is
coming in from Finland and Canada and the UK.
Yeah.
How often do you get to do that and sit down with these folks and be like, oh, I'm definitely going to bring some like Storm Cellar swag or some gifts. I have some Hurricanes related gifts that I'm going to bring, that the collectibles that people will enjoy more than I do. You know, I don't have space
Yeah.
for them and whatnot. But I think I think you're right. This isn't like a couple of us coming from out of town and a whole bunch of folks, you know, from Raleigh.
Yeah.
This is going to be, you know,
An all world
5,000 people
experience.
from out of town that all
Yeah.
coming together and getting to see each other in real time and not having to worry about time zones of things and getting to just connect and share. I mean, obviously you're not a North Carolinian, but you know, I love to share things like local food. You know, I keep mentioning Parker's Barbecue. Maybe they'll sponsor the show. Love that place.
That would be
I haven't eaten
fantastic,
there in a
wouldn't
long
it?
time, but I have driven hours there and back just for Hush Puppies. You
Oh
know,
my
and
goodness.
to share those things with people is I think the cool part. That's one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is I'm still very much I like my alone time. I need my alone time, but
Yeah.
you know, I do like to get out there and see who's out there and let people know, you know, hey, you know, we're all Caniacs together. We've had people on the show who said they felt you know, somewhat disenfranchised, or you know, they kind of felt they weren't sure where they belonged in Caniac Nation, and remind those folks, like, I'm gonna have my jersey on, like, you know, we're all in this together. Like, this is, you know, to quote Sanguinet, you know, the play for this is it's us versus the world.
Yeah. Sanguinet is so smart.
Love
I
that
love
guy.
Sanguinet. Yeah. Hey, real
Yeah.
quick, I'm gonna piggyback one more time on this. And you hinted at it. The game isn't secondary, but does it really matter who wins for that particular game? Does it matter?
I hope the Hurricanes win, mostly because of how it affects the fans after the game.
Sure.
You know, you want to leave the parking lot happy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter in terms of the standings. It doesn't matter in terms of if it's an ugly win, fine. So that's the only reason is to win that game. I think caps off what will otherwise be a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
And that's the only real reason.
And
I had to pick it, I would have picked us going to play in New Jersey.
Sure.
I still feel like New Jersey was the Hurricanes' first real rival, those early playoff years and things.
Yep.
The Capitals, what I don't want to see real quick, because you know, we got other questions. If the national media makes this about, you know, Ovechkin's race for goal number 812 or some other meaningless random goal until he surpasses Gretzky, that's what I don't want.
Yeah.
And if the Caps win, I could see it like, oh, like Ovechkin scored his 815th goal. Like I shouldn't say nobody cares. That's not the story. And I don't want it to be the story. So that's good call. You know, I would like to see the Hurricanes come out and win, if for no other reason than to try and help subdue that storyline, because it's a non-story.
Yeah.
You know, okay, hold on. Let me say, so Ovechkin's going to go to the left, you know, face-off dot on a power play, and he's gonna one-time one in, because nobody will just put a body on him and punch him in the mouth there. Like, that's how I'm score it. Like,
it's the same goal he scored.
I'll bring up this clip after the game, and I'll play this clip so I can say, yeah, I called it 2 months in advance, because we all see it coming. That's not a story.
Yeah,
the story
100%.
should be the Caniacs, and we're gonna welcome Capitals fans in. Maybe not as much as we would other fans of other teams, because there's history there. But
yeah,
we tend to be good hosts. We tend to be.
I was stunned.
North Carolinians are generally polite until we don't need to be.
My trip, in 2009, the tailgating and the openness to two sets of fans, Islander fans and Cap fans. Sensational in 2009. There's no reason to believe that spirit is not continuing in Raleigh as we go. There's just no way. That's how they're wired in North Carolina. How they're wired.
There we go. 4 more, Ray.
Cool.
So, all right. Matthew at EPICLOL asks, you're the GM. What's up your sleeve for the trade deadline? Are you willing to drop a depth or maybe attendee for a rental to help with patches, warming up for a playoff push that may get the Canes over the hump? So, real quick, what do you think maybe you drop a goalie for scoring help?
That's a great question. It would have to be, in my opinion, it would have to be a sensational sensational, proven, guaranteed type deal. And I mentioned this last week, we'd have to like fleece the other team to get what we need. Because right now, what we've proven is we've got everything that we need right now. Even when we lose a guy like Aho, we have the team that can play the game that still wins and can still win. So I would say maybe so, but it's got to be the right deal. And if I'm the GM, I'm happy with what we've got, especially since I haven't added, we're doing so well and Patches hasn't stepped on the ice yet. We still don't know where he is. We don't even know if he needs help. He might not need it. We might have all the tools we need. So that's where I'm at.
I'm with you. I'm not making a deal just to make a deal. Patches coming back, I think, is the deal.
Yeah.
However, the St. Louis Blues are at 500, 16-16, and 2.
Yeah.
If somebody like a Ryan O'Reilly or a Tarasenko, I'm not saying they're going to be available for rentals. I can't imagine they would be, to be clear. No. But they stuck out to me the other week. If somebody like one of those guys is available, yeah, I got to think long and hard about that. Because those guys can come in and make a Doug Weight, Mark Recchi style impact.
Yes.
And those guys can play.
They're Stanley Cup experienced.
It's going to have to be for a name, in my opinion. Not that name players are necessarily better. We've gotten a lot out of guys with who don't have that name recognition.
Yeah.
But those are the type of guys who could come in, put points on the board, and help you win a cup. If a player of that level is on the table, you got to think about it. But you have to balance it with, if you go into the playoffs and anything were to happen to one of your other goaltenders, you probably just lost everything, right? As far as a cup,
you'll be in a bad way, no question.
So,
that was a great question.
It was
tough.
Zach, former guest of the show. I was the first guest on the Storm Surge. One true Zach Martin asks, on a scale of 1 to 52, what are the chances of Piotr winning the Calder?
52 is the.
I guess that's
absolutely
52 means he wins. Yeah.
It's funny. I don't think goaltenders are looked in the same way as the skaters are, and especially in the Calder, and he most definitely, he has to be one of the finalists. I think if he can continue on this pace, he has to be the winner. I'm going to put it at about, if I'm 1 to 52, I'm going to say like 45. I'm going to say 45. He is the leader in the clubhouse right now. If you ask who is the best rookie in the league right now, to me, I look at Piotr. But the skaters get a different look and a different judgment. And often, there's not too many. I don't know how many goaltenders have won the Calder. I just that's a really tough one to figure out. But yeah, I like his chances. He's the leader in the clubhouse right now. My opinion.
I'm with you. Was it Matt Beniers? I think from the Kraken, I think is the odds-on favorite right now.
Yeah.
Less than a month ago, Piotr wasn't even in the conversation. He should be. I mean, he 100% should be. Quite a few goaltenders have won the Calder. Marty Brodeur, Ed Belfour, Terry Sawchuk, Ken Dryden. Now, some of these are old names. Ray Croft,
super old names.
Barrasso, Tony Esposito, Nabokov. You're not hearing a lot of new guys, right?
No.
I'm with you. I think the emphasis for the Calder ends up being on skaters. I don't think it's right. I think Piotr should be in that finalist. I think his chance of winning are not nearly as good because much like the best defenseman trophy, it isn't really given out, I think, to the best defenseman.
No.
It's given out to the best offensive defenseman. The Calder tends to go to the best offensive rookie.
Yeah. And it's
Do
got
with
to
that
be,
what you will. That's a great question, Zach. But
it
I
is.
think Piotr gets hosed because they don't look at goalies the way that they should.
So you don't put it at 45, 1 to 52? Where do you put it at? I thought 45. Oh,
Like 50-50 at best. Like on a scale of 1 to 52, like a 30.
wow.
Because he's a goaltender.
Yeah, because he's a goaltender.
And he's in Carolina. If he was in New York, Toronto,
Oh, good Lord.
LA, maybe,
The hype would be
the big cities.
big hype.
I'd give him 10. If he was in one of those big major markets, I'd give him an extra 10 points. I'd make him a 40 right this second for no other reason than it's a big market.
Yeah. I think if he can keep up this great play, and if he holds on to the number one position, I think if he holds on to the number one position for a serious Stanley Cup contending squad, I think that might be enough to put him over the top.
Bernie Anderson should have been a Vezina finalist last year. He wasn't. They put in
and he wasn't.
Markstrom,
You're right.
who was not nearly as good.
No,
Sorry,
I still don't
wasn't.
understand that. I still don't understand that. That rubs me the wrong way.
He wasn't. He didn't play anywhere near as good as Freddie. But
no.
Anyway, before I get upset, Jesse Rutledge at Jesse Rutledge.
Hey,
love the lithograph idea. My question: what do we do about the goalie situation? Wrong answers only. And I think there's only one wrong answer.
Trade Piotr.
There are many, but yeah, I think you dump Piotr for future considerations.
Bag.
Then you have two goaltenders and future considerations.
That's right. The wrong answers only. That's awesome. Yeah, immediately trade him.
We need scoring help. Piotr has the confidence as high as anybody I've ever seen. We still need a second line center.
Turn him into a second line center.
But
he skates well.
Can he shoot? If he can shoot,
I've seen him fire that puck around the glass. He's got a good little bit of snap on that wrister there.
He doesn't tend to put it over the glass directly. I mean, we opposite Brent. Brent Burns went from being a forward to being a defenseman. Why can't a guy go from goalie to forward?
There we go. Convert him. Get him out of there.
The fans love him too much to trade. I was wrong. The fans love him too much. You cannot trade him.
Oh,
but can you imagine if Piotr could put up like 40 goals?
And why wouldn't he? He'd have the confidence to do so.
Actually, I think Fetch, like how could he not?
You know what? I don't think Piotr would be the scoring type. I think he would be the enforcer on the team. So he'd be the one going out there and just starting fights and aggravating people and stuff. I don't want to call him, Marchment, but the very first game at the drop of the puck, they'd be chucking knuckles. You know what I mean?
Bring back Stu Grimson as a coach, as an assistant.
Yep.
Just to teach Piotr. I think Piotr can fight without any help. But
he probably can.
Just to give him some tips from one of the league's all-time great enforcers.
Yeah, the Grim
Reaper.
The Grim Reaper could, teach him how to, jersey the guy that and just get that jersey up over their head and then start feeding them the business. Start the lawnmower.
Before you start your shifts, you take off your elbow pads.
Yes.
And you might take off, your shoulder pads because they get in the way of being able to throw a punch.
Exactly.
Something Stu Grimson actually did, for those of you who don't know.
He did.
He would know. He would get the look from the coach and go, "Oh, I got to fight," and he would start stripping pads off so that he was more flexible, which is a little less than Rob. Was it Rob Ray? Roy? Oh gosh, now I can't remember.
Rob Ray.
It was Rob Ray who would oil himself up and pull his own jersey off, thus leading to the Rob Ray rule that if your jersey comes off during a fight, that is a significant penalty.
It is, yeah.
The most entertaining rules in hockey.
No question. Yeah, so there you go. There's some pretty decent
So Jesse,
wrong answers.
We're moving him to forward. We can't get these two people have already bought Kochekov jerseys. We can't trade them. Ray and I want to put him at the 2C.
The 2C enforcer.
Yeah, and KK scoring goals at 4C. So
there you go.
It's a win-win. Last question, Ray. We've had a long episode today. This has been good, though. I appreciate you coming out on Boxing Day. We were talking earlier. It's not really a thing in the United States. Like we kind of all know it's Boxing Day, but I don't know that any of us know why it's Boxing Day.
And
I'm sure there are a lot of people like looking for fights on ESPN today. It's like that's not what it is, but
sure. Boxing Day very quickly was actually meant to be a day for people to give gifts to the poor. It was more of it started out as more of a charitable event in the spirit of whatever. Christmas is you take care of your families. Boxing Day was finding ways to improve the lives of others. Instead actually turned into Boxing Day was the Black Friday before Black Friday came to the US. Boxing Day is always
beats each other up for TVs. Got it.
Exactly. Camping out.
That's Boxing Day.
Yeah, exactly. People were chucking knuckles to get a hold of the toaster that was $2. I mean, it was bizarre and strange. I mean, I don't think we had the stampedes quite like those in the States, but there were a lot of people camping out in lines wanting to get into the doors and take advantage of great deals. So it turned in from something very altruistic and became very capitalistic.
Charlie Brown Christmas has one of the most poignant things that ever go into an animated show. And he says, you know, you're I'm gonna have to paraphrase, but you know, you're adding to the capitalization, the commercialization, I think is the word he uses, of Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go.
There it is.
Charlie Brown life lessons, folks, right here on the Storm Star.
Indeed.
Last question.
Okay.
Duke _Dutchy says, and I'm going to rephrase a little bit, but what do you think is the future net for Carolina? So he specifically is asking about whether it's 2 goalies or 3 goalies. Who's the two? Like who are the 2 we expect to see in net? So not just the starter, but so let's assume for a minute that Piotr stays in net. Let's assume that's his net to lose.
Okay. Who's
number 2? Anderson and Raanta. For me, it's whoever's healthy. Because I just my hockey senses are tingling. I think Ranta's got something going on. If Anderson's healthy, I think it's Anderson. If they're both healthy, I would prefer it to be Anderson. I think he has a higher ceiling than Raanta. As much as I like Raanta, I think Anderson has the higher ceiling. He can steal more games for you that maybe he shouldn't. I think he's also more injury prone. So it's a double-edged sword. But if you're saying gun to the head, Brad, who are your top 2 goalies? Assuming like for the rest of the run into the playoffs, it's Piotr and Anderson backing him up.
And I'm going to go a step further than you as far as defining the future, because I agree with you. Right now, to me, for the exact reasons that you shared, it is Piotr and Anderson. Okay. That's the immediate future. If we are looking into the end of season future, I think it's Kochetkov, who the Canes were masterful in signing of that 4-year deal and getting him locked down.
Is looking like a steal. My
cheap. Goodness. Like, think about it. He's only he's only getting $2 million. Like, I'm Rockefeller myself, but for what he's worth, honestly, he's worth bigger than that. But they got him nice and early, and they'll have him in his prime. So that's great. I don't believe that Anderson or Raanta will be around next season.
I agree.
I think because they're done. I mean, I would like to have one of them back. And if I have one, it probably is Anderson by a hair, but I love Raanta. I love what he brings. I just don't think either of them will be there. That there will be opportunities for them in other places, and Waddell will find a way. Like we've said in the past, we had no goaltenders and he wasn't sweating anything, because then he did something magnificent and brings in Anderson and Raanta, who win the Jennings Trophy.
Amazing move.
Yeah.
I don't know that he planned it, but I like to think he did.
I'm giving him the credit that he deserves. So that's where I think it is. I'm with you. Immediate future, Anderson, because he does have the higher ceiling, and also in the future, I don't think either will be back.
So I agree with you 99%. Going into next year, I think it's Piotr and someone that is probably neither of those guys. The only place I disagree was if one of those guys were to get re-signed, I think it's more likely to be Ranta, because Anderson would get a number one job somewhere else.
And demand, and in order to keep him would require
too much money. And I think even with the injury, somebody is going to look at Anderson if he comes back and plays well and says, we need that guy as our starter.
And further to that, Brad, the salary caps doesn't look like it's going to be advanced as high as anyone expected next year, which means you're going to have to pinch the pennies a little bit more.
One more year, especially with all the contracts we have coming up, and then 100%. Hopefully the cap will start to grow. But
exactly,
even with KK not putting points on the board, although he has started to take off lately, as is everybody.
Yeah.
If you lock him up long term as a 3C at $4 million, I think you're still okay there.
Yeah.
The Fetch contract, in my opinion, is a steal. The longer it goes, the more it's going to look good. And the Piotr contract at $2 million is just, I mean,
stunning how great that is.
If you had to offer him today, it's not a $2 million a year signing.
No,
like it's already a $3 or $4 million. I mean, just in
already.
A little bit. I mean, I feel like his stock has gone up because you can see this kid might be something really special.
Very, very special for sure. So now those are all the questions, and we want to thank
all the questions.
We want to thank everyone for the questions that they had. I was going to throw in my question to you, Brad, here for fun, but look, we've been super. I mean, we're off into the distance on this one. This is like the triple overtime game against the Wings in 2002. That's how long this episode has been going. So I'm going to save that question for another day.
All right.
Because man, we put in the yeoman's effort. We need an intermission. We got to get some
a break from our
fluids into us and oranges, and we got to do, we got to maintain our abilities and skills.
I mean,
we got to take breaks.
Drink.
That's right.
That playing little league good stuff as a kid, soccer.
No kidding,
orange,
right?
I need icy orange. And yeah,
I'm a little bit older. I had Tang.
You had actual Tang. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Tang, which was my favorite drink. I actually found it somewhere. There was a store around here that was carrying it, and I bought one right away. And I went through it as fast as I did before, and it tasted as good as I remembered it. And I'm like, I can't buy that again. Because it's like
those are the days.
Those are the days, no question. So
there's a bunch of our listeners right now who are on the internet Googling what is Tang.
Tang? That's not. It's not what some of you might be thinking I'm talking about
Tang
either.
Is not short for any other.
Exactly.
Tang
Exactly.
An orangey flavored,
crystal drink,
carbonated drink that went to space with the astronauts.
Yes, resembled orange.
See, and that's why you don't see. That's why you should remember that. I'm always, I work for university. And kids say, "Why do I need to know this?" I can Google it. It's because when you need answers quickly, it should be in your brain and not on Google. I just saved you.
There you go. So we got now. How do we do this with Are we getting technical here? We had 7 questions. Is that
7 questions? I thought I would. So I literally am looking. I have them all saved in my phone, and I have my finger on one, and that's going to be question 1. And I'm just going to go through order. So pick a number 1 through 7. I'm going to go from where I am. I'm going to count forward 7, and that's the person who wins.
Alrighty.
Does that make sense? Makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I get it. I was going to break out the D&D dice if it was like 10 questions or whatever.
Just grab a D10.
Right. Yeah.
You can grab a D8.
I could grab a D8 if I roll. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Instant timeout for just 1 second. I'm going to go
we
get
can
it.
do that.
I love this cross-pollination idea. 1 second.
Welcome back.
All right. I'm back. And I've got this is my 8-sided die.
Oh, I like
Nice and metal. And look, it's got the dwarvish.
it.
If that one comes up for number 8, sadly, we won't, we won't be able to award it. But
I'm going to start where my finger is, and I'm just going to count forward the number that on the dice. And so if an 8 comes up, I just go forward 8 spaces.
Okay,
Perfect.
Here we go. So here it is. 3.
3. 1, 2, 3. Jesse Rutledge.
Oh, now look, for the record, it's not fixed because that happens to be my last name.
Oh.
And I know that we're all related if you go back far enough. All of us are related to everyone if you go back far enough. But there it is.
There he is. Jesse Rutledge. Congratulations.
Jesse Rutledge. We'll reach
out to you for some shipping info.
Indeed. And I'll get it to you and you're going to love it. It's a beautiful lithograph. Cam Ward, not autographed. Apologies for that, but it will look great in your cave anywhere. It would make a great gift if you wanted to give it to another Hurricane
Cam's still
fan.
around
Love
sometimes,
Cam Ward.
so you might
there
be
you go.
Autograph.
That's exactly it. Maybe you can get it autographed as well. Brad, this has been a fantastic episode. We got
always a pleasure.
Talk so much. We got a great start with Saul, who joined us. We talk about the Whale's Tail, which is coming. Look forward to that. Some crazy times, but very successful streak that we're continuing on, and some wonderful questions that we love. And look, we'll say again, if you can't be part of the show, don't be afraid to send in questions. We'll do this. We could do this and make it like a regular segment. We'll answer questions for you. You know what I mean? And because it's fun,
we'll answer them. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. We'll keep you send in the questions. We'll take care of them. There won't always be an reward or a prize, but sometimes there will be. Like there was today.
Well done should be its own reward.
Indeed.
That's my old man in me speaking.
There you go. And very sage advice. Very sage advice there. We talked about so much. Is there anything left to
go Canes?
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.